Hey everybody, we're going to do another painting today. This one is going to be just a regular painting. It's not on an acrylic pour. I found a design and it's somebody else's design, and I made up my own design just based on this. Just I liked the idea of the colors and stuff. So I went ahead and drew it out with a Posca pen, like probably the violet color underneath. And then I put a wash of quinacridone magenta, which is one of my favorites here. Just watered it down a lot like a watercolor and put a wash over. And this is kind of the Allie Kay. I've been taking some lessons from hers. That's kind of the way she likes to do, is put down washes underneath her colors so that it makes, if you leave some of those little edges showing, it makes that pop of color pop through, and that's what I wanted to do with this. So this is kind of my inspiration, but I'm not really copying it. I'm just doing my own version of it. So I'm just going to lay out some colors. It's alizarin crimson, that's Hansa yellow. And you can use other versions of those colors. You don't have to use those particular colors in general. They're golden paints. Here's burnt umber, which looks a lot like alizarin crimson when it's on the palette. I'm going to be using a phthalo blue, which is kind of a turquoisey blue. I can make my green with that and yellow, or I can use the phthalo green. I'm going to add a little Payne's gray, which you can't see, but it's a really dark kind of deep blue, which is a great neutral. I'm definitely going to keep my Liquitex fluorescent pink, my favorite all-time color. I'm going to keep it close by. So I'll get out some of my brushes here. This is the largest one, and it's a number 9. One of Allie Kay's brushes that I absolutely love. She has a set of these acrylic long-handled brushes for $22. If you're interested, you can email me and I can send you the link. This is a regular flat, just a regular handled one. That's a 10. I like to work with 10, and then the next size down is an 8, and then I want to work with a couple of rounds that are smaller, just different sizes, 3, 0. So I think what I'll do is I'll start with my leaves. To make the leaf color, I'm going to put a little brown, yellow, lots of yellow. Just a tiny bit of the corner of my brush is the phthalo blue. So that blue, yellow, and green, add a little white to make it not as transparent. That's a good mid-tone for the leaves. And so I'm going to go in and just very quickly base coat those in. Again, these are golden paints. They're not the fluid where they're really wet, but they are much, I would say much more fluid than like craft paints like Deco Art or Folk Art or one of those brands, which I typically used to use Deco Art all the time. So just getting a base coat on these green leaves. And if I see, any area that I want to add just a touch of something, and I can throw in some little green doodads in these kind of wildflower things that are going to be kind of bluish toned. And maybe one here that I didn't have it drawn in. That maybe just comes right off the canvas. I'll rinse that. I do want a little butterfly in my piece too, because I love butterflies. So I'm going to take just the white. I'm going to turn it sideways just because I think I can get a better. I want it to be big. I'm just going to leave that there for a base coat, and then we'll fill that in later. So now I'm just going to go in and do some really quick highlights with the green. So I'm going to use the green I already had, add yellow and white, touch of blue to lime it up just a bit, a touch of brown, more yellow. I want it really punchy, and I'm just going to add more yellow. Give those leaves just a generic highlight. There's always going to be a light source, so I'm going to have it coming from the top and from the left. So the left side of any of the leaves or the top will get that highlight. Just trying to make it brush strokey and kind of quick. Rinse. Now I'm going to take the blue, the brown, the yellow. Even alizarin will really kind of deepen up a green. I'm going to put a little white in so you can see it. And again, I'm going to go back, add a little yellow, a little brown. This will be my deepest green, so that's a little too much maybe. So I can add a pinch of white to lighten it up a bit. It's obviously going to be shadowed where the petals are, like if it's underneath the petal or near a petal. Does have a stem. Again, I can go down at the bottom of those little green dashes and just kind of add maybe a darker section. Okay. So that's it for the green for now. We can always come in later and do some more. Let's do the center of the sunflower. I'm going to use a little alizarin crimson, brown, yellow, pinch of white to make it not transparent. Let's even put a little bit of Payne's Gray. That made it greenish, but let's go back to the brown and the alizarin. So I'm just going to quickly put in this little brown patch right there. And then I'm gonna basically go around the base of all the petals and put that same color. That gives it a little depth at the center where the petals are. Again, here there's just I'm just using the corner of my brush and just dabbing in, because these are, you're not seeing the center of this sunflower, you're just seeing petals because it's kind of the side view of the piece. Okay, and then I'm going to take off most of my paint and dry that brush off, and then go into yellow and white. Let's put my fluorescent pink down, which I love, which is Liquitex. The rest are golden. So I want it kind of like an orangey, a warm orangey yellow. And I'm going to come out, and that paint is still wet. From that center area. Add a little bit more pink to that and yellow. Ooh, yeah. That's the pink that I like, when it starts making it feel kind of coral. I'm going to add a little bit of that yellow, pink, kind of near the bottom where it's brownish. Rinse, and I want to get my brush pretty clean just so it doesn't have that brown in there. I'll go back over here to where the pink was added in, put a good amount of yellow and some white. So it's almost pretty much just straight yellow, but the white makes it less transparent. And then I'm going to just base coat in those petals. And this is really kind of the first layer. I'm probably going to do more than one layer on this. And I might even throw in some in the background too. And I'm not covering that depth at the base of the petals that was brown and pink, and I'm leaving that because that gives the petals depth. Need to make some more. And then these, same thing. These are small. And then there's a couple that are just kind of overlapping, kind of in the central part of the flower. I can go back with the small brush and do more fine details, but this is just the base. I'm going to use what's on my brush, go into this brown, add some yellow, a little pink, and I'm just going still a little bit lighter here. Rinse a little bit, leaving some of it on the paint on my brush. Now let's go in and get that yellow again, white. We want kind of a pale yellow. We're going to go back over it and just kind of do the tips, because the light's coming from the top. And we may have to do a couple of layers I like to stand my paintbrush up, keep my bristles flat, press that paint, keep them flat, and that way you have more control with a bigger brush. I'm just going to do the ends of the petals here. Okay, and then same here. Going back into this middle tone color, I have a little bit more orange, pink. Just kind of dabbing around. I want some of that pink, that hot pink, magenta color popping through here and there, so I'm leaving little gaps of that. Now I'm going to take my number 4 round, which is the bigger round brush that I have. I need more yellow. Put some white into it. And I'm just dabbing, kind of back and forth. Just right, kind of at the top and to the left where the sun would be shining and hitting it. So just those little areas. And then I'm going to come in, add a little bit more white to that. And just hit the edges of those petals, kind of at the top, where you would see the light hitting it just on the tips. Going in with this yellow over here, I'm making more of a bright yellow, and I'm just adding a bit of bright yellow back in, maybe with a little of that warmed color, kind of in the middle of the petals, just to give it a little bit more color, just in the middle part of the petals. Rinse that, and then I want that really pale white yellow. It's almost white. I'm going to save these petals because I'm going to be doing this behind it, and I'm going to have to probably touch those up anyway. So just kind of throwing in a dash of white. Some of these petals down here might not get as much light. And this, I want to add more of that yellow with a little bit of the fluorescent pink. So it's kind of an orangish. And I'm coming in that middle area. And adding some of those dots there. Then I'm going to take the brown back up here with the Payne's gray. So, and maybe a little alizarin crimson. So it kind of makes a burgundy round color. And I'm just dabbing randomly. I'm not doing it in a straight line. I'm going kind of a zigzag. There. I'm going to just wipe it off on my paper towel. Add a little yellow to that, a little bit of the orange. I keep wanting to call it orange, which makes it orange. That pink. Kind of blending that in there. We're taking a mixture of both of those and bringing it up a little bit, but you want to keep that kind of bright at the top. And then I'm going to take my just straight white and very randomly just going back and forth. I'm going to go back over to this flower and get some of that darker brown, and I'm just adding a little bit of depth at the base of those petals. Wipe that off. Get the yellow and the pink, which is orangish. And just going and kind of blending that in just a little bit into that brown. Wipe that off. And then I want that yellow to be right in the kind of the middle of the petal. This looks good. I think I'm going to take a little bit of that magenta, the quinacridone. So I'll put it right here above the fluorescent pink, add some white to that. That's what the wash is in the background. Add a little bit of that fluorescent pink to it. I'm kind of just putting a little pop of that. Right at the base of the sunflower. Now I'm going to get white and add that and the pink. A little bit of that magenta. A little bit more white. It's almost like a highlight, just a little, just to put that pink in there. I really love that pink. Okay, so one other thing I want to do with the petals on the sunflower is take this warm with a little bit of brown with the pink and the yellow, more brown. So it's kind of a golden warm brown. Really want it darker. I want to go right at the center and kind of make it look like there's a little gap between the petals just at the base, so that you see some, like where the petals would overlap each other, okay? Rinse my brush really, really well. I'm gonna go back into the white and base coat this butterfly one more time. This time I'm just using the small brush that I already have been using. Doing this, and I'm gonna let this dry. Let's do the blue flowers now. A really pretty color is that blue, which is super strong. I'm going to take a big old scoop of white, and you see with just the big scoop it's still a very vibrant color. I'm going to stick a little quinacridone right up here, so that would be my darkest color. And I'm basically just going to dab. This is still my number 4 round. I'm just dabbing in what would be the base of these little buds. And I'm leaving pink, the quinacridone pink, hot, you know, that background. I'm leaving it showing in places. I don't want to cover that beauty up. And I may still paint the background in. We're probably going to paint it blue, like a lighter blue, turquoisey blue. But I want that pink to still pop. Okay? So very random. I want that very random. I'm going to rinse that brush out. And this color here is what I'm going to use next. So I'm going to add a little bit more white to it. And it's still very, very blue. Put a little of the magenta, just a pop. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so it's still pretty deep, but now I was brushing up, now I'm going to brush down. And that gives more of a rounded effect at the top of the brush stroke. So I want multi-colors to show in this area here. Okay, so that's good. Now I'm going to add more white, come down here and just use what's on my brush, and it's still very, very pale. Put my tip of my brush into this magenta color. So it's kind of like a periwinkle. Now let's go with more white. Again, leaving gaps. The more haphazard you are, probably the more natural it will be. Okay, now I'm going to just wipe that off my brush, leave the color there, grab some more white. Oh, there was yellow in that. Kind of liking the pink background though, I have to say. So I'm not sure. I may go with it, I might not. I think I'm going to leave this as a white butterfly, but I'm going to give it a little shading. So I'm going to take the Payne's Gray, just a tiny bit, with white and alizarin crimson, which kind of gives it almost a gray-blue feel. Put a little bit of that in there. And so like at the bottom of the wing, these would be the front wings. Then right back here, these wings are behind the other wings, so they're not hardly showing at all. Okay, rinse my brush, then go straight into the white. And kind of just blend that in. Wipe off, straight white. You want those edges of the wings to be really white at the tops. Now I'm going to go back to these sunflower petals, just a tiny bit of yellow, mostly straight white. I'll go into straight white. So remember, some petals are going to overlap others. I'm going to go back into the yellow, mix that white in, and strengthen some of these petals that are still a bit see-through. Maybe throw in a random one here on top, like the little miniature ones. You can even push and then push down and then pull up to a point. A little pink. Again, we'll add a little of that back with the yellow. Go back to white. Just the tops of these little petals. Down here there might be a little shaded area under the petals, so I use some of that brownish color. And a little bit of white back. I think I need something over here. What I'm going to do is take some white, some of that pink, yellow, so this is my middle color. Let me add more white. This would be my middle color. Dip my corner into the white pretty heavily, and then the other corner in the pink, and maybe just even a little bit of that magenta. Now let's just do some little, let's call them like cherry blossom looking flowers. So middle, pink, and white on the other corner. My brush has a little hair that's sticking out that's making marks. If you need to re-dip, you can. In the middle, lots of white, a little pink. Let's see. So I think I'm going to leave the magenta as kind of the background, but I want to, I'm going to go in probably with my biggest brush here. This is the number 9. 7 is the next size down, and I may need to switch to that, but for the larger areas. So I'm going to take some clean white and this magenta. So it's going to make like a pale magenta compared to this. Around the shapes, I want more magenta, I think. It's not vibrant enough. I can throw in some of this fluorescent pink too. Yeah. So kind of coming up to the edge. want it stronger near the edge, almost the same as the background color. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe. Love you all.